Heidi is one of our judges for US
Mhm.
Pole Champions. And she's joining us today to talk about performance mindset, which, if you follow Heidi, you know Heidi talks a lot about mindset and its importance. So I wanted to ask, a few weeks ago, you gave us some tips that we
Mhm.
shared on our page about saying yes to yourself and enjoying the journey. And I wanted to know how you found pole and what made you say yes to giving it a try.
I actually saw it on Oprah. So eons ago, Sheila Kelly was on Oprah and she was doing this like short little routine with pole and she was super sexy. And I was like, that is what I want. And it took a little while for me to get there to actually take a
Mhm.
class. But once I started, it was this passionate experience of like femininity and sexuality and physicality. But I really started honestly because I wanted to be in touch with my sexy side, and
Mm.
that was like the last thing to develop, honestly. So
Mm.
it's been this incredible journey of like, okay, I started for feeling sexually empowered, and then it developed into this physical practice, and then developed into this mental, emotional, whole body practice where I feel like I am today. So the whole thing has been an incredible journey the whole time.
So much evolution in your journey. And when did that journey start? What year was that?
My first pole class was 2009, the summer of 2009.
Wow.
So yeah, I feel like a dinosaur a little bit.
No, never, never. Industry leader, not dinosaur. Um,
Okay.
so for people that aren't familiar, you talk a lot about mindset and how you approach your training, your pole practice, your performance. And can you share how your mindset has changed over the years? Because you have started it, almost 15 years ago.
Sure. Well, I was a competitive gymnast at an international level for roughly 15 years. So my journey with mindset in particular was started through my gymnastics career. And that was a huge evolution of, well, a painful evolution of really doubting myself and my ability, and like, how do you believe in yourself and believe in your ability and both find competition productive and fruitful, but also not attached to it as, oh, if I don't do well, then I must not be good or good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to pole, it was almost like reliving that all over again, because at first it was this fun experience of like putting on my heels and dancing around, and it was great. And then when I started competing, I found myself the first couple competitions, because I had no clue what was going on. I was lighthearted and it was fun and joyous. And then I found myself slipping into this like super competitive, not like win or lose competitive, but like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if I don't perform at a certain level, then I'll be damned. And so pole gave me opportunity to revisit what it looks like to have a healthy mindset. And
What
yeah,
would
to
you
realize, yeah, go
say?
ahead.
Sorry, what would
No,
you say would
please.
be that turning point for you with pole from kind of slipping back into that unhealthy
Hmm.
mindset that gymnastics, had a hold on you for so
Hmm.
long and falling back into it in pole? What would you say was the turning point for you in your pole journey to get out of that mindset and realize you didn't want to repeat that pattern?
Hmm. Well, I would love to say that there was like one significant thing, and like the clouds parted, and I heard harmonious voices that said, "You've arrived to like the perfect mindset," but that actually never happened.
Wouldn't we all like that
I
level
know.
of clarity where there's just
Sad but
like
true.
a voice from above? Okay, this is close to home. Yeah, it wouldn't we all have that if someone's like, you've got it right
Yeah,
now. You don't have to worry anymore.
exactly. Yeah, no, that never happened. I think part of it was realizing it was again the journey. Like, we speak to the journey, which sounds so like woo woo and metaphorical, but honestly, it's like so true.
Hmm.
It was the realization of like, oh, this is fun. And then, oh, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. And then, oh, wait a minute, now I'm trying to fit into this code of points. And like, oh, now other people expect me to perform at a certain level. And and so it was the awareness of all these different stages that I was experiencing.
Mhm.
And then being like, wait a minute, I actually want to have fun. So how do I find the fun in this? And also doing well. So like honoring the fact that I'm putting this training and I want to do well. So I think it was just the awareness of what is actually happening for me right now and realizing that I was putting other people's expectations on myself. That was first. And then gradually, yeah, it's just self-discovery and realizing that, okay, it's less about what they think and it's more about what I want to put on stage. And so sometimes that was a story, like my personal story that I wanted to share, or sometimes that was, I have these really cool tricks that I've been working on and I really want to show these tricks because there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like if you've been putting in the work, show your hard work.
Absolutely.
Yes, but it was realizing what I wanted to get out of the competition, not trying to please others or trying to please the judges even necessarily. It's when I step off that stage, what is it going to take for me to feel good? And so it was just beginning that self awareness of why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And dialing into that. Yeah. So that was a gradual, I mean, that took years, honestly. I guess I'm a slow learner, but it took years for me to get to that point where, yes, I've invested a lot in this competition, but I'm also realizing that what's most important is how I feel when I'm done. And so that took a lot of effort and practice on my end to get to that stage. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I'll share that you really helped me with in my pole journey was like when I came to your home and trained with you for a competition, I had so much fear of failure, and not failure of like losing, but again, that fear of failure of like not performing to certain expectations, my own expectations. And then it was like, well, why do you have those expectations? And you sat me down, you were basically like, if you are afraid to fail, you are never going to grow. And I was like, oh. But it gave me so much freedom in my pole practice to do things really, really badly. And hearing that from someone like you, who I really looked up to and admired in the pole industry, and you were just like, you can fail as many times as you want, and it does not change your value as a person. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I come from a gymnastics background too. I didn't compete at the elite level like you did, but I still had all of those intrinsic fear motivations that are usually built in with gymnastics.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it is just because you're putting yourself in a place of competition and being judged by others and the criteria of the, you know, that particular event, it's just an experience. It's 4 minutes on a stage. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to like, you know, say, oh, it's nothing, because it is, it's a big deal, but it's also 4 minutes of your life. And so when you finish, feel good about why you were there and what you were doing, and then go about your life and like everything's okay. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't change your value at all. It just enriches your experience, and you do grow from the experience. And I think we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I just want to say that putting yourself in that hot seat, whether it's actually submitting or, you know, being on that stage, like that is such an enriching part of your life to have the experience of really like putting yourself out there. The vulnerability is huge.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's sort of, that'll lead us to another question. So what made you decide to compete in pole?
Yeah, when I was doing pole and realizing there were different styles, and I was on YouTube and I saw Oni Kivela and Janine Butterfly, and I was like, oh, they're competing. Oh, what is this? There are competitions? And I was like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I think I can do that. And that, it was just like, oh, well, what if I try? And it wasn't even about being on stage, honestly. It was, what if I submitted? And that is truthfully my experience. And I know we'll talk about this and the submission part of it, but it literally was, what if I just submitted? Because that was the practice of
Mhm.
beginning to focus my practice, beginning to focus on a song. What do I want to show? What can I show? What are my best qualities? What are some things that are interesting for me to share? And so that alone gave me a new goal or a new intention and a new focus. I didn't even, honestly, I never expected to get in. And so when I did, I was like, gulp. Uh-oh. Wait, now it's real. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. But honestly, my first intention was just to do it for the experience of doing it.
Yeah. And so when you were thinking about submitting, was there any sort of like hesitation in your mind of like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Or did you maybe not feel that way when you first started competing and feel that way later?
Yeah, when I first started, I had literally zero expectations. Like it was just, I'm going to submit a video,
Mhm.
period. And then when I got the acceptance letter, I was like, oh, like what do I do with this information? And I remember pacing in my kitchen like, no, it must be a joke. Wait, are they serious? What? No. So my first intentions were literally just to help to develop my practice and just submit for the fun of it, literally for the fun of it. And then later the submission got a little serious when it was like, oh no, I really want to get into this one. Like, I hope I
Mhm.
do. And then it was being more intentional, like I said, about what do I want to show? Is it tricks? Is it, uniqueness and transitions, or is it flow? Or what is it that I want to offer? Um, what is my highest level of quality that I can offer right now? And so it
Mhm.
went from fun to serious.
Pressure.
Yeah, pressure, exactly.
Mhm.
And
How
then
much of
later
that
too. Mhm.
pressure do you think was from yourself?
Oh, all of it. 100% all of it. 100%. Always all of it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
would you say that that pressure affected your mindset when you were preparing for certain competitions?
Yes.
Do you
It
ever feel
does.
like, I guess my question is,
Yeah.
do you ever feel like that pressure affected your mindset when you got on stage? Like, did you ever have an experience where you left the stage and you were just like, I'm not happy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did that change for you? Do you feel like now, if you were to take the stage, like you have the emotional tools to leave happy
Yes.
regardless?
Yes. And to leave happy regardless is a very broad statement, but it's an
Right.
understanding of, in that moment I did the best that I could, and like, oh, I
Right.
slipped here, or oh, this didn't go well. But that's very different than, oh, I did a crap job, or I should quit pole dancing because that was the worst performance of my life, or whatever. That's a very different mindset. But yes, I definitely got off stage and was like, what just happened? I can't believe it. And funny enough, I'd go back and look at the video, like once I had some space, and be like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad.
Yes. I think that's so
So,
important. So
hmm
important. I've gone back and
hmm
looked at routines where I remember thinking, I should have done this better, I should have done that better. And then I'd
hmm
watch the video like a year later, I'm like, oh, that
hmm
wasn't so
exactly.
bad.
I think that's something. Okay, I just want to highlight that for a second, because when we are so invested in what we put out there, it's like literally like birth. Okay, I don't have kids, right? I have a cat, but it feels like you're birthing something, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm putting myself out there that feels so vulnerable and it's so precious. And if it doesn't look or feel exactly how you wanted, it's like almost heart-wrenching, and you work so hard that it's hard not to be attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the beauty of it, is that you work on creating this art, this experience, and then you get to share it with people. And so I think if we flip it from, oh, what are they going to think, to, well, what do I get to share? What do I get to express? What do I get to show? And then the expectation is, here it is. You can like it or not like it. How many times have we watched a routine and been like, that was amazing? That was okay. Well, that was cool. There's just so many different things that we can feel when we watch people or feel inspired by. So we put it out there, and then that's it. You just put it out there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you because as you've gone through your pole journey, you've evolved from competing a lot to more like touring and guest performing and then judging. And I'm curious to ask, no matter what the like scoring system is at something that you're judging, is there something you just are always looking for as a judge when you're any competitor, regardless of the quota points? Is there something you're always trying to see?
Yes. So what's really important for me is, are they enjoying the experience and a part of the experience? And I don't mean enjoying like, are they grinning ear from ear, like, this is the best, but like, are they really in the experience and embodied in themselves and attempting to connect with either the judges or the audience, or really in it,
Fully present.
Yes, that is one of the biggest things that I look for. And regardless of what happens, if they have a little bobble or whatever, they're like, still here, still giving my all. Like, that is one of the most important things for me, is the continuation of presence, as you say. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think things that you share on your social media, you talk a lot about being present with yourself, within your own body, and how that translates to pole practice. And then I think sometimes it can be hard to translate that to the stage. And what do you do? Do you have any sort of rituals before you perform in front of people that sort of help you center yourself and find that presence?
I was just having a conversation this morning with someone who's competing, and we talked about this exact thing. So often before stage, we can be like almost redlined with like all of this anxiety. And so finding a minute to bring the energy down so that we're in our bodies. And yes, we can have a little bit of nervousness, but we don't want it to become anxiety. So breathing in, and then I really try to be in the moment and feel myself, so that I can then make a connection to the routine or the piece or the freestyle or whatever it is, and then in that make a connection to the audience. So my practice is breathing and really trying to be as present as possible and not think about all the different things that are going to happen, but one piece at a time, walking onto the stage, finding the starting position, like literally one step at a time. So yeah, just
do you
breathing.
visualize a lot?
All the time. Yes. There's been times where I've competed and I've only done the move once without a mat and without assistance, and then performed it on stage, because 80% of what I did was mental rehearsal. Yes. I don't necessarily recommend it to that extreme, but yes, I think it is a huge, huge part of the process. Yes. Yeah.
I love that. So it sounds like when you were submitting for competitions, when you were in that phase of your pole journey, you felt pretty like, I'm just going to submit, and you weren't super attached to the outcome. What would you say to someone who's maybe having some anxiety about submitting, and they're feeling on the fence and they're feeling nervous about sending in a submission video?
Yeah, I totally get it. It's a big step to think about, ooh, might I put myself on the hot seat to do this, right? That's a huge step. So what I would say, and I think I said this in the video that you posted, was just because you say yes to the submission doesn't mean you have to say yes to the competition. So the idea is that you submitting is just the first step. It's like when you're trying on a pair of jeans, you don't have to buy the jeans. You put on one leg and then you put on the other, and then you turn around, you see if you like them, and then you can take them off. So if you're thinking about submitting, then you have enough curiosity to follow through. If you're like, nope, not for me, then you know the timing's not right. But if there's an ounce of curiosity, like, that's a yes. That's a yes. Yes, make the submission and then see what happens, because it's only a submission. So you might get accepted, you might not. So to jump 10 steps ahead to, oh my gosh, if I get in, what am I going to wear? What music? Like, how am I going to get a plane to, like, all of that is completely irrelevant
Mm-hmm.
to the first step, which is I have the curiosity. Now let me submit the video.
Yeah. And I, if you saw when we asked Sasha the same question,
Mm-hmm.
she said, if you're thinking about it, you want to do it. So
That's
just
right.
send it in.
That's right.
And I think also, there's all those things of like, well, what if I get in and then I have to do these things? But what would you say to someone who's having a fear of rejection, that they're afraid to
Mm.
submit because maybe they won't get in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rejection is hard. It's hard not to take rejection personally and think, oh, that means that I'm not good enough, or I didn't do a good job, or, oh, they didn't like this or that. Rejection can be really brutal. And I suffered through a lot of that. Like, I took it very personal. And so I would say that it is inherent in competitions that some people win and the rest don't. Like, it's a winner because there's one person, right? And in a submission, we put forth the effort to put something out there, but not everyone gets in. That's actually just a part of the process, and it's not personal at all. And so part of the practice is to realize that if you feel like you have something to share, then take a step in vulnerability to share it, and then let it go. So detaching from your personal value in that video. It's just a video. It was, a couple of minutes of you on pole. It doesn't mean that you're a bad poler or you shouldn't be competing, or it doesn't mean any of that. It just means that maybe there were other people that had a particular video that resonated more with the judging criteria. It's not personal at all.
Yeah.
So it's not a personal rejection. It's just a not right now, or not this time, or not today.
Yeah. And I wanted to share, like, I know what it's like to be on the rejection side of those emails and those video submissions. And so something that was important to me when I was developing this competition is that when you submit, you get feedback from two judges. So our two video judges, they're going to fill out a score sheet for you and give written commentary on where you can improve, so that if you decide you wanted to submit another time around, you have clear expectations of what they were looking for, what was missing, so that you're not sort of just getting this email that's like, sorry, you're not a finalist, but hopefully something that really contributes to your pole journey and helps you grow. Because I think that was a hard thing with video submissions. I know I didn't normally get any type of feedback. It was just like, it's not you, you're not in. And I don't know, for your video submission process, was that similar?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we're super excited when we get in, but when we get the no, it's like, but wait a minute, especially when you're like, but so and so got in and I can do the same tricks, or I look very similar. It's hard not to compare, right? Well, why not me? And so the fact that you guys will get feedback is fantastic.
Yeah. Do you think that would have helped you in your process if you had gotten something like that?
Yes. Yes. To be like, what could I improve on, or what could be different, or even like what was good, like not just what to improve on, but like what went well that I can keep working on. So yes, having feedback is a huge part of the process. Yeah, it's great that you guys are offering that.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And I am so excited to have you as a judge, and I'm grateful that you joined us today. It was really important to me creating this competition to provide like an elevated experience where we had professional paid judges, video feedback, just a different type of experience that hasn't really been around in the US since I think kind of before COVID.
Yeah, the competition industry has changed a bit. Everything is always changing. So it's nice to see that we have a competition that is supporting a higher level of experience. It's really exciting. Yeah.
I'm excited that you're a part of it, and I'm so grateful that you joined today. It's wonderful to see you. And thank you for all your, advice today and sharing part of your story. I think a lot of people are fans, but don't necessarily know the steps that you took throughout your journey to be where you are now. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say something to the people who are thinking about submitting?
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I think is so incredible about pole is that we have the physical aspect, like we talked about earlier, right? It definitely is physical, of course. But through this process, especially if you're thinking about submitting, you get the um, experience of the emotional investment and the mental investment, and the practice of putting things together, um, in a complete package. And
Mm.
there is a vulnerability that offers so much growth through the experience that I just encourage everyone to do it. Because I submitted my first video, it literally changed my life.
Mm.
Literally, because 3 years later, I left my job and started touring the world. And had I not sent that first submission video, that would have never happened. So the chance that I took was life changing. And so, maybe you don't become an international touring artist, right? But maybe something switches for you mentally and that changes your life. And when you change your life, the people around you are impacted. So it's this incredible experience that I encourage everyone to take a step into their vulnerability and their courage and put themselves out there and submit. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great piece of advice. Well, I think we'll leave it there. And
Okay.
thank you again for your time and for everyone that joined. And we'll post this in just a minute. So the replay will be available. And then in about 24 hours, I'll get the closed captions added. I'll put it on YouTube because I know for some people it's easier to read along.
Sure.
But
Great.
thank you, Heidi. It was
Thank you. I
wonderful to
appreciate
see
it.
you.
You too.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.